Hey guys, we're doing a buyer's guide today, and as you can see, we're doing the Fantastic Four. So this is actually the first time I've done a team buyer's guide. So if you want more of this, then let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, what's interesting about the Fantastic Four releases is that we actually only have 3 releases of comic book versions of them so far. I really wish I would have had 4 sets of teams to show, but it is what it is. In any case, like normal, we are only looking at the comic book versions of these characters, and we're also only looking at the figures that have been released since around 2013, 2014 or so. So no Toy Biz releases in any of these videos. Otherwise, we'll be looking at each figure, what they come with, how much you'll be able to find it for on eBay as of this recording, as well as doing comparisons against other figures. Now, we're also only primarily looking at the main Fantastic Four, but we'll also take a quick look at a few other official members. So stick around and we'll get right into it. So here are your Fantastic Four, and we are doing this in release order, starting with the Walgreens Wave. So this is the order that I think of when I think of the Fantastic Four, and we start with Reed Richards, and it's a pretty straightforward body for the most part. Most of the parts are using the Pizza Spider-Man body, as well as the rest of them will be, but then this torso right here is relatively unique. I don't know if we have very many characters outside of Mr. Fantastic that has this specific torso where it's like he's slim but not like super ripped, which makes sense for the character. But if you do look at a regular Pizza Spider-Man body, you'll see that it's much more muscular. Otherwise, the costume itself, I believe, is supposed to be like their original appearance, maybe not their first appearance. So it looks mostly the same as the original, except for a few key things where the 4 on the chest looks pretty different, as well as the fact that the black on the neck is actually not supposed to go the whole way up the neck. And this actually looks a little bit more like this other image that I'm going to put on screen. I'm not totally sure where it comes from exactly, but it looks more like this image that I'm showing you versus the original costumes. But what's kind of trippy is that you can see that the thing over here looks entirely different from the image that I'm showing you as well. So it's kind of a weird in between if this is supposed to be the one from this comic page as opposed to the original costume. But even if it is the original costume, it also doesn't look totally right. So not really sure what's going on there. But this was the first release of Reed Richards in the kind of the rebooted Marvel Legends line from around 2013, 2014 or so, and these came out in 2018, and again were Walmart exclusive. What's also nice is that we got some long arms, so this one will actually swap out right at the shoulders right here, so these just pop right out, and then these are supposed to pop right in. And my only real gripe with these is that these don't bend super well. Like, they're designed to bend, but they don't really hold their shape especially well. You can see that it kind of just bounces back a bit, or at least maybe it just has really limited articulation, even though it's supposed to bend a little bit more than that. The only other accessory that Reed comes with is the ultimate nullifier. So I think we see this maybe once or twice more throughout the Legends line, but I believe this is where we first saw it at all. So even though this is our oldest Reed, he is also the most expensive at about $50 on eBay right now. Next up, we have Sue Richards, and so this was a pretty neat release because of, you know, them making this transparent arm, which is really nice to have. And it also has an alternate left hand, so that you can see it's slightly transparent as well, or mostly transparent, and then a bit of black paint. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty solid execution overall. The body itself is, you know, pretty typical old school female Legends at this point. But I will say that the face sculpt is actually still nice, and I think the hair is actually also really nice too. And you can see that, you know, again, the black part does actually go to where it's supposed to, depending on what version of the costume that this is supposed to be. Otherwise, most of the articulation is going to be pretty standard for a female Legends. Besides the alternate hand, she also comes with this guy. I believe the character name is Herbie, and I believe this is also the only one that we have in the entire Legends line. So if you're looking for this one, then he came with this character. Doesn't really articulate on his own, comes with the stand, as you can see. A pretty straightforward figure for him. And a Sue you can find on eBay for about $35 to $40. Next up is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. This is actually a surprising release to me in terms of like the molding, because like a lot of this stuff is fairly unique that we don't see very many times throughout the Legends line. Like the fact that the foot has actual additional molding to indicate that he's on fire is really cool. And I legitimately can't think of any other characters that have that. Even his other releases don't necessarily have this kind of foot. And I'm not sure if we even have like the calves or even some of these other, like the forearms either. The hands, I think we do have a couple of times, but still, the fact that it's slightly transparent as well as the color and the molding, all the effects is pretty unique considering, that it was still kind of relatively early into the line. In any case, as far as accessories go, you can see that he comes with a regular left-handed fist with no additional flame molding on there. And then he also comes with a right fist that has the flame molding because he currently has one without the flame molding. And then the point of the ones without the flame molding is so that you can stuff their fist into this, like so. And Legends hasn't done this in quite some time, so it'd be kind of cool to see a return of that. I think it's a pretty effective and cool way to use an effect piece. Otherwise, this back part comes off as well, and it's something that we see on the other releases too. So nothing super special about it except for the fact that it's also a bit transparent, which is nice to have. And this Johnny is on the more expensive side along with the others of this particular wave at $45 on eBay. And then we have Ben Grimm the Thing. So this is our first thing in the lineup, and he looks great. I think they did a really spectacular job, and we'll do more comparisons against him with the other two releases as well. But you can just see that the black wash, like the lines, like it all looks really nice. It's a very, very well done figure, and even that face is very well done too. Not just the sculpt, but the paint. I think they did a really nice job. The QC is excellent on this. And what's nice is that we get a pretty nice alternate head as well. Not quite a frown, more of a slightly stoic or maybe just kind of a default face, which is nice to have. You can see that he has a fist on one side and then an open hand on the other. And he also includes the opposite for both as well. Now, because this thing is as good as it is, you're going to find him on eBay for about $55 to $70. Next up, in 2019, just a year after the Walgreens release, we got a regular release BAF Wave. So this was the Super Scroll Wave. And as you can see, that's literally the same body as the original release with some minor changes. So the feet are obviously all new, which is really cool. And I don't think we ever got these with any other figures either. They're such a interesting, unique thing, and I like them a lot, actually. This is also the first time, and I think we only ever got this on the other read as well, where he has the extended long fingers. I don't think we've seen this on another character. It's a nice modern look. I do like it a lot. And honestly, I think this costume is probably my favorite amongst the releases between the three, just because it's a nice kind of modern looking suit. Otherwise, you can see he only comes with a couple of fists. I kind of wish he would have also come with just open hands because, being Reed, you might want him typing on a computer or something like that. But this is the whole release besides the BAF piece that he originally comes with. The nice thing that I really like about this, though, is his head sculpt. And I think it's great. I really love the gray in both the sideburns as well as like the beard. I think that's really cool looking and easily my favorite version of the head between the three of them. And I mean, I've seen some people use Peter Parker's head interchangeably with Reed Richards. They have very similar looks in the Legends line. And so this could make a really nice, like, older Peter Parker as well. And this Reed you'll find on eBay for about 20 to 30 bucks. Next up is Sue, or the Invisible Woman from the Super Scroll Wave. And obviously it's, using the same theme of the costume and still also using the same body mold as the previous release. Still looks good, and of course we also have new feet for her too. So these do match up with Reed in terms of the style, with having like the little spiky things at the bottom, which is really neat. But what's nice about this one is a whole new accessory that as far as I know, we only get with the Invisible Woman so far. So this is something that just sits in her hand, and I think this is like a really nice accessory in terms of like the engineering for it. The fact that it just has it like the fingers are sitting in there and it actually holds it reasonably well is really nice. I wish they would use this kind of concept with more effects. Like instead of having all the effects that just wrap around somebody's like forearms, I think this would be way cooler for somebody that, might shoot a projectile or something like that. And this Sue is on eBay for about 25 bucks. Next up, this was our first civilian Johnny Storm. As you can see, the full flame effects that he has are just the ones that are actually on him right now. He also just comes with a set of regular fists, and these do appear to be the same exact size as Reed's hands, so if you don't have one set and you need another, then you can grab it from the other character. Otherwise, it's a pretty good release overall. It's a nice muscled body, and again, we've got the newer feet on there. Otherwise, it's also pretty straightforward in the sense that it's just a repaint of a kind of a standard body from the time. But we do have a nice civilian head on him, and it's a good young looking guy, and I think they did a nice job here. And I don't know if we see this a whole lot more times throughout the line besides I think his other civilian release, which we'll get to in just a second. So otherwise, this Johnny you're gonna find on eBay for about 35 to 40 bucks. And next up is the Thing. And obviously we're using effectively the same exact mold as our previous release with the addition of this belt right here. The paint scheme is not nearly as nice because I think having that black wash really helps make it pop a whole lot. But you can see they tried something a little bit different because we have some paint here, across the chest a bit, on the shoulders a bit, I think a little bit on the head too. And it's okay. But I just don't think it's going to be nearly as nice as the other one. The other problem with this release is the fact that it doesn't come with any alternate hands or an alternate head, which is a huge bummer. But we do at least have a different head sculpt, and that is kind of cool to see. And, we've got Ben's baby blue eyes in there, which actually reflect really nicely from this angle. It is really kind of cool. In any case, this Ben you're going to find on eBay for about $40. And finally, we come up to our most recent, but not that recent, wave from the 2022 retro wave of Fantastic Four figures. So this one is a classic look for me. This is the classic look that I'm most familiar with, so I was pretty excited to get these ones. As you can see, he is a straight, full, exact re-release as the original one with the long bendy arms. The nice thing about this one, though, is that he actually comes with a lab coat and lab arms, so you can swap those out and have them in a cool lab coat kind of look, which is nice to have. We don't have I don't know if we have this at all anywhere else in the line for kind of a scientist looking lab coat, so it was a really cool release that they did at all. Otherwise, you can see the return of the long finger hands, so at least that's something better than nothing, but I do wish we would have gotten just a little bit more out of here, but is what it is. In any case, even though this is a classic look, these are on eBay for 20 bucks. And here is the Wave's Invisible Woman. What's interesting is that they also came out with this one, which I'll mention in just a second, but this was the default, kind of like the regular release Sue Storm. And again, really straightforward, really just the same exact release that we got in the original release. This time we have some different hands though. Even though this hand is the same, we've not had this kind of outreached hand just yet. She also for the first time comes with a pair of fists and of course the invisible shield. So or force field or whatever it is that you want to call it. Now this one right over here is it's the same exact mold, and it also comes with the same set of accessories. So you'll see the same set of hands and also the same invisible shield. But this one was its own special release, and this was a limited release. I don't remember the exact details of how you're supposed to get this, but it was definitely far more limited than this one was. One of the biggest gripes about this release is the face. I think a lot of people weren't really happy with the face, and I'm one of those people. It just seems a little strange, or maybe it's the hair, maybe it's just a little bit too big. I feel like it's the right idea, but the execution was just a bit off. In any case, this Sue you'll find on eBay for $15, while the invisible one you'll find for $40. And next up is our next Human Torch. So again, with the Invisible Woman, this was the primary release for the Human Torch. And as you can see, it's using a lot of the same parts as the previous release with the molded forearms and with the flame molding in the hands, as well as the head that has its own flame molding too. And of course, he has a set of hands that don't have the molding, but this time he doesn't come with the fire effects that attach over the hand, but you can see the flame effects that he comes with are just these ones. So, they're okay, they do the job, but these are so generic, and they use these so many times for other characters in different colors that they're really not even flame specific. So I don't really like these ones as much as the previous ones, but that's my opinion. In any case, this was the special release one that was more limited. And as you can see, it's effectively the same exact figure minus the molded parts and the head, but the accessories are exactly the same. So it comes with this. She actually does come with the same hands too, and they even come with the molding in there. So painted white, but molded in this color. So, you know, that's actually kind of cool to see. We don't have a lot of that there. But these are the same. So in any case, this Johnny you'll find on eBay for about 15 to 20 bucks. And this one, surprisingly, is way more expensive at about $50 plus. We have our final thing. And this one is using mostly the same mold, but we have some slightly updated thighs right here, which is pretty interesting that they're doing this. And I think the point is that they're kind of going more for like the underwear type of trunks rather than like the trunks where it kind of really comes down the thigh a bit. Otherwise, as you can see, it doesn't have the black wash like the original one does, but it is using the same kind of like some paint here, like that second release does. Now, at least this time we do have a alternate head, and this is also a new one. This is the first one where we have an open mouth that doesn't have teeth, and that's pretty interesting. Although, what's kind of also interesting is that it doesn't look like, kind of looks like he just has black eyes in there. And same with the default head, I think. I guess I can see a little bit of blue in there. And then, of course, a pair of fists, too. So, this one you're going to find on eBay for about $35 plus. Now let's do some direct comparisons with all the different figures. Here are all of our reeds, and like I said, they're basically the same figure with these two, especially being the same exact figure. And the nice thing about that, at least with these two, is that if you wanted to swap out the coat on this one rather than this one, it should work perfectly fine, which is kind of cool. It also means that these two can also both grip the Ultimate Nullifier, because they both actually have gripping hands, but the middle one does not have a gripping hand that can hold this. He only just comes with the additional fists besides those. Just doing a little close-up of the heads just to show that they are indeed the exact same mold and pretty much the exact same painting style too. So, I mean, maybe the browns are slightly different, but there you go. Here are our 4 invisible women. I think the actual like invisible one makes a great stand-in for the other two, so I would say don't feel too bothered if you don't want this one, but you still want this one that you're going to use in place of, you know, her when she becomes invisible. I think between the heads, though, I think this one is still my favorite between both face sculpt and the hair. The second release is definitely a close second for me as well, and then this one just being the worst of the bunch. So if it were up to me and I wanted this costume but one of these heads, I would really just swap the head and call it a day. What is kind of interesting to note, though, is the force fields are actually different. So you can see that this one is just a little bit more transparent than this one is. And then this one is with the actual invisible one is actually even more hard to see through than the first release one is. So it's interesting that they have all these differences between the three, but doesn't really impact you that much. But just something to note, just in case you are trying to buy and you're seeing pictures on eBay, then you might be able to identify that somebody swapped them out. Next up is Johnny, and I would say it's kind of a toss-up for me in terms of which ones I like better, because like this one is great because it has, you know, the 4 on the chest, but this one is great because it looks to me more like what he looks like in the comic books with like the black kind of lines. On top of that, this one doubles as a really good original Human Torch, the Android one, with that same style as well. And then the other two are really just kind of like up to which costume you prefer. Obviously, this one you're going to want to, if you are just getting that particular team with that costume set. In any case, let's do a quick comparison of the two civilian heads. And you can see it's definitely the same molding, just differently painted. He's got much thicker eyebrows over here than on the other side. And I think the flesh tone looks a little bit better over here in some ways, but then this flesh tone actually looks more like it's a natural human actual flesh tone, like against my thumb. But this one still kind of just looks better on its own. And then of course the Thing. So I would say this is an easy win with the original release. The just that black wash just makes it just pop so well that if you are going to get one of these, I'd recommend doing that to these guys. I've never done it personally, but it shouldn't be terribly hard to do. If you'd like to see me try it, then let me know in the comments, and we'll see how that goes. But in either case, not only does this look better, but it also comes with an alt head and additional hands. This one only comes with just the fists that are already on him, which at least that's nice that he comes with fists, because if anything, you want him with the fists. But let's do some direct comparisons with the heads. Okay, so I thought the simplest way to do this was to do it this way. So from left to right, this is our second release head where we have no alternate heads. Then we obviously have our first release, and then this one on the right side is our most recent release. So you can see that they're all different and they're all interesting in their own ways. And I attribute the differences to the fact that there are different artists and their own styles with how they do this stuff. So if you know in the comments specifically which one is which artist, then I'd love to know. And thanks to everybody that's always letting me know that in the comments to begin with. But like I can see that obviously like the brow on this one versus this one is much bigger, even though they are pretty similar. And then this one has like more sunken in cheeks, and like the underbite is much more pronounced. So that is pretty neat to see. In any case, we have a few other alternate heads to also throw in there. Here is the other head for that third release. And then here is the other head for our first release. And because I know somebody would be upset if I didn't show, here's the bombastic Bagman. And this one matches the first release costumes the closest. As you can see, it's effectively just literally reusing Reed's body with some bare feet, as well as the bag for the head. And then, of course, we have to talk about Franklin, Valeria, Spidey, and Wolverine. So these are the most recent releases of these four. And then these are still relatively new, but not as new as these guys. And in any case, you can see that they are kind of designed to go together. But the question is, what other costumes do they go with? So definitely they don't go with the most recent FF with the white in the costumes. The blue of these original release costumes and these newer ones go together reasonably well, even though they're definitely not exactly the same. However, if you look at the design and the blue of the second release, these seem to go more with this style. So right, with mostly black and then accented with the blue. However, the feet don't really match up, because these ones have like the weird spiky boot things, and the rest of these characters just all have like kind of regular blue feet. So it's kind of a toss-up, but I don't think you can go wrong either way. So I'd really love to hear your thoughts on which costumes are your favorite, or which ones that you're going to be trying to get now that you've seen this video. So otherwise, if you want more buyer's guides, then check those out over here.